Hi folks, welcome to Module 4 of the new Microsoft MD-100 course, titled Windows Client. If you're new to this course or my channel, you might want to start watching this course from Module 1, just saying, unless of course you're only here because you're looking for something specific in this module. Then obviously by all means, stick around. Now, as for what this module is about, as you can see, it is titled Updating Windows Client. So you can probably already guess it's got something to do with updates. Okay? To give you a better idea on what exactly we'll be talking about regarding updates, we'll be covering Windows servicing model and then also updating Windows. Those are the two main sections in this module. But now, obviously, that is not all the topics in this module. Obviously not, definitely not. If you want a more accurate list of the update related topics in this module, you can of course find that in the video description down below, like usual. There's also the normally nice little convenient timestamps there for your convenience. So you probably noticed by now that this module is shorter than the previous three. That sometimes happens. It's totally random each module. Some of the modules are huge with lots of content. Sometimes it's just long topics. And some of them are small or the content is just, well, of such nature it's going to be very quick and easy to explain. Now, like usual, folks, if you haven't done so already, please give this video a like so that YouTube can basically push it up to more folks that actually need it. And obviously, if you yourself would like to follow this course or, well, pretty much any of my other courses, then maybe also subscribe. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the first main section, because there is only two, which was of course called Windows Servicing Model. The Windows Servicing Model basically consists of four things. The first of which is feature updates. This is basically a new Windows release that contains the additional features and capabilities. This is generally released about 1-2 times per year. Microsoft says it adds and gives extra goodies on Windows, but based on my personal experience, I've seen they don't just go and add extra features and goodies. They very often actually remove goodies and features. And these are often things that you might not notice immediately. Here and there it's a subtle small thing. And then eventually after a few weeks or after a few months, you'll notice that, hang on, where is that button? Where is that feature? Guess what? Microsoft removed it with one of their updates. Anyway, the second thing the Windows servicing model consists of is quality updates. So this, rather than receiving several updates each month and trying to figure out which your organization or your client's organization needs, which mind you causes platform fragmentation, instead administrators will see one cumulative monthly update that supersedes the previous month's update, containing both security and non-security fixes. The third thing the Windows servicing model consists of is channel. This can actually be divided into three choices. The first choice inside channel, which I'll list for you guys in a moment, is Windows Insider. The second is general availability, and the third is long-term servicing channels. Don't worry, I'll list all three of these things I just mentioned in a moment, with a little bit more detail obviously, so just hang tight. Anyway, channels allow customers to designate how frequently their general availability channel devices update. Now, getting to the fourth thing that Windows servicing model consists of, that would be ring. This is simply put just a method by which to separate machines into a deployment timeline. In other words, which machines update when, how, where, that kind of stuff. So more accurately, when are they going to be updating? You don't want all your machines to go and update at the exact same time. That's another example. Alrighty, now that we listed all four things the Windows servicing model consists of, now we can get to those three things I just mentioned earlier with regards to channel. So, the Windows servicing channel. What were those three things I mentioned earlier? Yes. The first was Windows Insider Program. The second was General Availability Channel. And let's not forget, the third was, of course, long-term servicing channel. So first of all, what the heck is this magical topic of Windows servicing channels about? Well, folks, we obviously already know it's something to do with updates, since pretty much everything in this module comes back to updates, one way or another. So where this magic topic comes in is to align with the new method of delivering feature update and quality in Windows Client. Microsoft has now introduced the concept of servicing channels to allow customers to designate how frequently their individual devices are updated. Basically, this is just another way of Microsoft trying to give you and your customers or clients, whatever you want to go and call them, more flexibility and more control over how updates take place in an environment. To give you an example of this purpose of all of this, imagine an organization who has test devices that the IT department can update with new features as soon as possible. Now, in that same company, imagine they also have specialized devices that require a longer feature update cycle to ensure continuity. Yeah, that's basically only one of the many situations where this will all help you out. So, with regards to these three things we have listed in front of us, if you look at the Windows Insider program, the name kind of sort of gives it away, if you pay close attention, that is. So, the Windows Insider program, what is it? Well, in a nutshell, it allows IT people to kind of sort of preview and test updates before they actually get released or go out. If I have to summarize the living heck out of it. For many IT professionals, gaining visibility into feature updates early before they're available to the general availability channel can be both intriguing and valuable for future end user communications, as well as provide the means to test for any issues on the next general availability channel release. So it's basically like a preview where you can go and test stuff ahead of time just to make sure it's not going to go and break something in your environment, break devices, or cause some sort of shenanigans, some sort of compatibility issues. So you're just jumping ahead, and trying to, mitigate any possible issues that may or may not occur with these future updates that's on the way. So feature flighting enables Windows insiders to consume and deploy pre-production code to their test machines, gaining early visibility into the next build. Pretty neat, right? Now, as for the general availability channel, speak of the devil, in the general availability servicing channel, feature updates are available as soon as Microsoft releases them. The servicing model is ideal for pilot deployments and testing of Windows feature updates, and for users such as developers who need to work with the latest feature updates immediately. Now, once the latest release went through pilot deployment and testing, choose the timing, which goes into broad deployment. As for this last one of the three, long-term servicing channel, there are special devices out there that require a longer servicing option. These can be things like, I don't know, PCs that control medical equipment, maybe point of sale systems. Heck, it can even be ATMs, come to think of it. So any device that's computer or like a computer that needs updates, but you definitely don't want those devices to go and update willy-nilly, and definitely not frequently. These devices generally control something very, very important that's very, very sensitive. So obviously, with those types of devices, it's way more important that they be kept as stable and secure as possible, then up to date with user interface changes. So yeah, the long-term servicing channel basically prevents Windows Enterprise devices from receiving the usual feature updates and provides only quality updates to ensure that the device security stays up to date. So it's only going to give it absolutely what it needs, like security updates, and the rest of the usual blah blah blah, it's not going to get that. Definitely not, unless you go and manually go and do it. But generally, it's not going to get that. Anyway, guys, let's have a look at Windows Update options. So I've got a bit of a table here you guys can go have a peek at. So if you look at the options there on the left, servicing tool, in other words, you'll find I've listed about 5 things there. Now, Microsoft wouldn't be caught dead mentioning something that's not Microsoft. They will strictly and only give us examples that's Microsoft related. And even though these 5 I've listed here for you guys, even though all 5 of them are Microsoft, that's actually still not the only ways you can go about updating machines. Now, the first one at the top left is Windows Update. That's probably the most obvious and the most common one out of the lot. So basically what we're saying there is just leave your machine be and it's going to go and update eventually. So can updates be different? Yeah, but it's going to have to be manual. Ability to go and approve updates? Heck no, you can't go and do that. You've got very little control, pretty much none. Now, with regards to Windows updates for business, can updates be different? Yep. Ability to go and approve the updates? Nope. No surprise there. Now, if you look at the third one there, WSUS. For the folks not familiar with that, that is a role you install on a server. And the purpose of that role, in a nutshell, is to have the server download the updates you or your organization require. And then from that server of yours, which belong to you or your company, you will then go and deploy all of these updates to all the devices in your company. So instead of each and every device in the company contacting Microsoft whenever they please and updating whenever they please of any update they please, WSUS will now go and download the updates once. Many benefits to that, one of which is it's going to put a lot less strain on your WAN link. That's basically your main internet connection for the folks not familiar with that term. It's a lot less strain because now you're not going to have hundreds or thousands of computers all trying to update at the same time. One server is going to go and download the updates. And since that server is yours, and since you've got control over it, you now have the ability to go and choose which updates your devices get. You have the ability to go and choose when they get them. Definitely not in the middle of production time. You're going to wait until after people go home. After 6, after 7. Basically, let's just say at night. You're going to go and update these little weasels at night, restart them, and then shut them back down again. So that's the purpose of WSUS. It's not the only thing, but I can go on and on, but that's not the topic at hand here. The fourth thing on my list there is Microsoft Intune. For the folks not familiar with Intune, that is a cloud tool specific and unique to Microsoft. It used to have its own platform, but since September, I'm trying to remember which year it was. I feel like I want to say 2019, but I think I need to say 2020. I just remember it was in September month. So September, heck, let's just say 2020, Intune was now moved onto Azure. So you're going to have to go into the Azure portal, if you know what that is. It's one of Microsoft's biggest cloud platforms. It's one of the biggest ones out there in general, mind you. So you're going to have to go onto the Azure portal, which is just another platform of Microsoft, which is cloud. And on there, you will find Microsoft Intune. Now, I can go on and on about Intune. I mean, there's courses about Intune, for crying out loud. But in a nutshell, Intune was designed to manage phones and tablets. And now people use it for desktops and laptops as well. So I can manage any device anywhere, regardless of where it is, regardless of what operating system it's running. And it doesn't even matter if it's a phone or a tablet. So it can be a phone, tablet, desktop, laptop. It can be Windows, it can be Apple, it can be Android, it can be whatever. Pretty much any operating system. The catch is, in most cases, these devices just need to be enrolled into Intune, giving you permission to go and manage them. I mean, if I just tell you guys, hey, I can manage any device anywhere, anytime, that kind of sounds like hacking. So to kind of prevent this from being hacking, you need to go and enroll these devices into Microsoft Intune first, which allows me to go and manage them. The amount of things you can do with Intune is just insane. But that's not the topic at hand here. We're talking specifically about updates. And one of the many things I can go and do with Intune is I can update users and their devices, regardless of where they are. As long as that person's got an internet connection, guess what? I can update it. The last one on our list is Configuration Manager. Now, for the folks not familiar with that one, it's actually a tool in a collection of tools. So the suite is called SCCM, System Center Configuration Manager. And one of the many tools you find in there, I think there's about a 6 or 7, is Configuration Manager. It's probably one of the most powerful tools on this list, mind you. And using that tool, you can also go and manage your people, their devices. And one of the many, many things you can go and do is, of course, go and control updates. All right, folks, let's move on to the second main section in this module, being module 4, which was, of course, updating Windows. All right, so the first thing we're going to be talking about in this section is Windows update settings in the Windows client. So for this one, I'm going to give you guys a demo on the actual Windows operating systems themselves It's not exactly the same for Windows 10 as well as Windows 11. Most things are, this is not. So I've got two virtual machines idling in the background, like usual. I do of most of these courses. One is running Windows 10, the other one is running Windows 11. So I'm going to first show you guys how and where to do this on Windows 10, and then we'll do it on Windows 11. So let's switch on over to Windows 10. Right, folks, here we are on that Windows 10 machine I just bragged about, so to speak. So there is multiple ways, believe it or not, you can do it on Windows 10 as well as 11. So the most obvious way you're probably going to go and do it is in the new control panel for Windows 10, which they refer to as the Settings app. So if I go to the bottom left here to my Start button, you can get to the Settings app via just clicking on Settings. That's actually probably the most obvious way. Click there on Settings, and you can go and click here on Update and Security. I'm going to go to that little weasel there. And there we go. So if there are any pending updates, which is what I'm experiencing on this virtual machine running in a cloud right now, you can see it says pending, pending, pending. So at some point, I'm going to have to go and install all of these updates. If I don't, they're probably going to start installing themselves anyway. So you can see there's a nice little button there. It says install. Usually somewhere here is also a button that says view update history. I can't tell you exactly where that is. Oh, there it is. Normally, I don't know where it is because they keep moving around. Every second day or every second month or so, Microsoft removes it or moves it or renames it or changes it. Sometimes it's a blue hyperlink. Sometimes it looks like something else. It seems like at the moment, it's a button. It says View Update History. And you can go and check what updates have taken place recently, especially if you or the user is experiencing some sort of weird issues. If you know yourself or this user is updated and this machine is updating or behaving very weirdly, yeah, there's a chance it might be an update that's misbehaving. Now, I can't tell you guys that it's going to look exactly like this by the time you watch this video. So if you watch this video very shortly after I've uploaded, then yeah, it's probably going to look like this if your build is relatively up to date. But if you're going to watch this video a few months or a few years after I've uploaded this video, there's a chance it might look different because, like I said, Microsoft's constantly changing this. The button might be labeled differently. It might look differently. It might be a blue hyperlink. I don't know. It depends on how Microsoft feels in that particular day. Another place you can go and view these updates on Windows 10 is the old school way, which I do not recommend because I believe Microsoft's probably going to go and remove this method. You go into Control Panel, Programs, Programs and Features, and obviously here at the top left, you'll see it says View Installed Updates. If you go there, you'll also see updates, and you'll have the ability to go and somewhat manage your updates from there. So let's switch on over to the Windows 11 machine I bragged about.
A few moments later.
All right, here is that Windows 11 machine. So on Windows 11, I suppose there's probably also many ways you can go and do it. But I'm going to start off by just going into the Settings app again. Looks different on Windows 11. How do I get to that? One way is to click on Start in the middle here. Top right, it says Settings. I'm going to go and click on that little weasel. Click on that. And you can probably guess where we're going to find Windows Updates. Yeah, it's probably going to be the one that says Windows Update, isn't it? Let's go click on that one. And you'll see it's a very similar look and feel as what we just experienced on Windows 10. And they're trying to give you that sense of familiarity so you don't get too confused and all of that. Also see there's an update history and all that. So it's very familiar than what we just saw on Windows 10. At the end of the day, it's ultimately still the same thing. And of course, you can still go and view it on Control Panel. That part is still exactly the same as Windows 10. I'm not going to show that on Windows 11 since it's still exactly the same. So let's switch on back on over to the presentation. All right, so the next subtopic I want to talk about in this specific section is using a WSUS server to deploy updates. Now, for those of you not familiar with WSUS, first of all, it stands for Windows Server Update Services, and this is basically a role you would go and install on a server, for those of you familiar with servers and roles. Now, speaking of server, here is a more or less picture for you guys on how this whole WSUS situation would basically play out. Now, looking at this picture, the computers we have there on the left, where it says LAN, those are obviously on a local area network of some kind. So that's what the LAN stands for. This might be a home network. It could possibly be an office network. It could be any kind of network. Now, in this picture, we only see 3 computers in that section where it says LAN, but we obviously know in real life, this is not up to scale. It could possibly be much, much more than that. I mean, this could be hundreds, if not thousands. And let's face it, most likely it will be much, much more than just those free machines. Now, looking at those computers in the LAN network, under normal default circumstances, as soon as you connect those free machines or however many machines it is to the internet, they would normally go and connect directly to the internet, and right away they'll eventually go and update, directly from Windows Update, which is that little thing you see there way at the top right. So those free machines in the LAN is going to go and connect to the internet. We see where on the right. And obviously, in turn, that means they're going to be going to Windows Update, contacting the Windows Update, and getting the updates. So what I'm actually saying here is you've got no control over that as soon as you plug those machines into the internet. This is a bit of a problem in most company networks because we can't just have computers randomly connecting to the internet and updating whenever they want. And these machines normally then have the tendency to also want to go and restart during working hours. Some people call it production hours. This is obviously very, very bad. If you have a lot of computers all trying to update during working hours, this is going to put a tremendous amount of strain on your company's WAN link, and in turn, other things will now happen. For example, you'll experience very, very slow internet. So if everybody's going to go and download at the exact same time, you're going to have a very, very slow internet connection in your company. Imagine for a moment you've got 100 or a few thousand people, all of them on YouTube, all of them downloading or watching YouTube at the same time. Yeah, that's going to put a tremendous amount of strain on your WAN link. So it might actually seem like the internet's off in some cases. That's how slow it's going to get. So yeah, but wait, there's more. When these machines update like this, you have no control over the updates. Isn't that something? You can't really choose when they get these updates or how. You also don't have the opportunity to go and test these updates to make sure they're actually going to work and not going to cause any kind of shenanigans or any kind of issues in your environment. Now, getting back to the main topic at hand here, which was, what was it? WSUS. If you have a WSUS server, that server and that server alone will now go and download those updates for your company. So you can see that now in the picture. So that's a WSUS server is now in between. So that already means a heck of a lot less strain will be on that company WAN link of yours. So that's basically a fancy term to say your internet. It's literally going to be pretty much just that one machine that's going to go and download the updates now. So instead of hundreds or potentially thousands of computers all downloading the updates, nope, now you'll have just one machine downloading those updates instead of possibly thousands of machines. That is something, isn't it? Another benefit to this WSUS is all your devices in your environment will now get their updates from this WSUS server of yours, which has downloaded it already. Since this server is yours, you can control exactly when devices get these updates. It's not going to be willy-nilly all over the place. You get to choose what time of day. Obviously, this is going to probably be after hours. You can control exactly which updates they get. So if you only want security, critical system, you can go and choose that. And you can also go and choose how they get these updates. Gets pretty cool, right? Also, let's not forget, you now have the opportunity to actually go and test these updates beforehand, before they go out to the users and their devices. This will massively reduce any overall issues you're going to encounter in the foreseeable futures when it comes to these updates. Because let's face it, they're always going to cause update issues. Now, once again, looking at this picture we have here, you can clearly see the WSUS server is located between the user devices and the internet, smack bang in the middle. Like we said, it will now go and fetch those pesky updates, and now you, as the IT team, will have all of those added benefits I mentioned earlier. Before we move on to the next topic, by the way, if you look at the group of machines way there on the left of that picture, the ones called test clients, now those are simply a bunch of devices and users which are, well, normally more commonly referred to as pilot users, actually. At least that's what most people call them. I myself, on the other hand, I like to call them guinea pigs. Because let's face it, that's what they are. It's pretty much guinea pigs. They're test subjects, aren't they? So those few users and their devices normally get the updates first, and they go and test them, which is why I call them guinea pigs. If they experience any issues, the idea here is for them to go and report it to you, the IT team, and you and the IT team will obviously now go and address these, solve them, and then eventually, when you're happy of the updates, you've solved all the problems, or you're happy of whatever problems there's left, you can then go and officially deploy this to the rest of the production environment. So that's at least the idea. All right, so let's have a look at the next topic, Windows Update for Business. This tool also delivers updates to your users and the devices, but it now obviously does it in a different way. It does it differently than the WSUS. So if the Windows Update for Business, you can still keep the Windows devices in your organization always up to date with the latest security defenses and Windows features, but you'll now be doing it by directly connecting these systems to the Windows Update service. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Sounds kind of suspicious. So if you're now sitting there wondering about control of these updates, how do you control these updates? Well, you can go and use things like group policy or a mobile device management solution, which is more commonly referred to as an MDM solution, such as Intune, for example, to configure Windows Update settings that now can go and control how and when Windows devices are actually updated. But wait, there's more. In addition to this now, by using Intune, organizations can manage devices that are not joined to a domain at all, or who are joined to something like your Microsoft Azure Active Directory alongside your on-premises domain joined machines. What's really cool about this Windows Update for Business is it allows you to create something called deployment rings. The deployment rings are used by administrators to specify which devices go first in an update wave and which ones will come later, obviously. Windows Update for Business also allows for administrators to select whether they want to include or exclude drivers as part of the Microsoft provided updates. Oh, and let's not forget, Windows Update for Business also allows for integration with a lot of other things, like, for example, the WSUS we spoke of earlier. You can integrate these two with one another. Heck, you can integrate it with other things like Intune, SCCM if you want. And quite frankly, most companies I've dealt with normally go and do that with Intune and SCCM. It's actually very strange not to find a company doing it via Intune or SCCM. So WSUS is slowly but surely falling away. Less and less companies are using that nowadays. Doesn't mean they don't use it. I just see it happening less and less. And other platforms like SCCM and Intune, they're becoming more and more popular. So those are very high in demand courses and very high in demand qualifications. So if you are keen to go and keep yourself up with the trend, those are probably technologies you should go and look into. Oh yeah, and guys, there's one last thing I want to mention to you guys regarding this Windows Update for Business. It provides three types of updates in Windows. So the first is called feature updates. So this was previously referred to as upgrades. Back in the day, I say back in the day, this was actually not too long ago. A few months ago, a few years ago. These were normally referred to as upgrades because these feature updates was usually an upgrade. Every time Microsoft released one of these, it would basically be one huge, fat, humongous update. Anywhere between 3 gigs and up. In some cases, I've seen them 8 gigs and up, and it's basically a whole new operating system. It's still Windows 10, but it's so darn gosh big, and it's quite often a build. It's basically a whole new operating system. They add features, they remove features, which is most likely why they decided to call these feature updates. Another update we get, which is the second type out of these three, is quality updates. These are traditionally operating system updates, typically released the second Tuesday of each month. Although they can actually be released at any point in time, but it's usually the second Tuesday of every month. They include things like your normal security, critical, and of course driver updates. And then the third type of update we get is non-deferrable updates. Currently, anti-malware, anti-spyware definition updates from Windows Update cannot be deferred. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense, because it's security and all, it's very, very important. So you don't want to go and do that exactly. Anyway, folks, so believe it or not, that actually concludes it for this module. I know it's a bit shorter than the usual modules, but like I said in the beginning, it's totally random for each module. Some will be very short, some will be very long. So yeah, that is what it is. Anyway, so if you've enjoyed this module, if you've learned something, remember, give the video a like. It does help me, does help the video. And of course, if you'd like to follow this particular course or, well, any of my other courses, just remember to hit that subscribe button as well. And then lastly, special shout out to the sponsors of this channel. Thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate it. And if you feel like you also want to go and do that, you can find that information in the video description down below. Right, folks, thank you very much. I'll see you on Module 5 of the MD-100 course.
If you love me, let me know. If you don't, then let me.